Welcome back, everyone. Glad to have you here on our second edition, week 2 edition of Big Ten Paradigm here on the College Football Coast to Coast Network. My name's Mark Rogers. You can join me on the Voice of College Football on YouTube. We've got 25 team channels, including Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Wisconsin, Nebraska, and Iowa from the Big Ten, again on YouTube. Just search Voice of College Football. This is our second edition of Big Ten Paradigm. The conference is 10-0 non-conference, and we're going to be keeping track of that as we go through the non-conference regular season into postseason play. We love to compare the conferences. I don't think there's any doubt at this point in the season, this point in the game, as it has been the case for a long, long time, that the SEC is the best. Hate to say that, Big Ten fans, but the Big Ten is certainly the second best. And I think just like we can't challenge the number 1 spot, I don't think the number 2 spot can be challenged. And the Big Ten's off to a nice start at 10-0. And some of the nice victories, let's get to them. Ohio State, 21, Notre Dame 10. All right, a lot of people were expecting, not just Ohio State fans, but as I talk to college football fans every day and receive thousands of comments during the off season, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe the score predictions on this game. 52-20, 48-24. Everybody seemingly had Ohio State scoring in the 50s in this one. Okay. No, the offense did not explode. The offense did not look prolific, did not produce big-time passing plays downfield. C.J. Stroud threw for less than 250 yards in this game. They only scored 21 points. They only scored 7 in the first half. You know what? This was a solid win for Ohio State. This actually was maybe a more impressive and certainly a more meaningful win for Ohio State in the way in which the Buckeyes defeated Notre Dame. Okay, no, it wasn't the 3 or 4 touchdown win that most anticipated, like Ohio State against Michigan State and Purdue, where they just bombed away and just blew them out with 56 and 59 points in those games against good teams last year. But think about it. Notre Dame's got a tremendous defense. They really do. They have Isaiah Foskey on the outside, and I could go through. We saw Brandon Joseph, the newest addition from Northwestern, at safety. Just a hard-hitting, disciplined defense. Okay. Jackson Smith-Njigba was pretty much taken out of this game early, and we'll find out what his status is soon, hopefully. So he got back on the field, but he was a non-factor. He almost became a decoy after that. So suddenly C.J. Stroud is playing minus his number 3 receiver from last year, but his certain to be number 1 receiver this year. Well, you say, Mark, the Ohio State wide receiver room is loaded. And it is. And I got to say, it was a bit concerning since these guys practice and get so many reps throughout the winter conditioning, into the spring practice, individual workouts, through the fall camp, that the timing between C.J. Stroud and the other receivers wasn't necessarily there. There was one play in particular in which they ran a crossing route for Emeka Egbuka, who looked to be the replacement for JSN as a number 1 receiver for Ohio State. He did catch 10 passes against Notre Dame, but this particular play, they set it up nicely for him. He needed to read the defense and be on the same page with CJ, and he was not. And it cost Ohio State a first down that would have led, well, shoot, if he would have sat down in the zone and been in recognition of the defense, it would have been a touchdown. Ohio State missed a field goal. And you just saw the timing not quite there between C.J. Stroud and receivers like it was with Olave and Wilson last year, and then JSN as well. So C.J. Stroud was forced to actually get the tight ends involved, something that the Buckeyes just don't do because of the plethora of talent in the wide receiver room, even producing NFL tight ends. They don't catch more than 15 or 20 passes a season. Well, Jaden Ballard, Kate Stover, those guys caught 5 passes between them. And Xavier Johnson, a guy that's kind of a Swiss Army knife Hey, look at what he did on special teams right after he caught the touchdown pass that broke open the game and gave Ohio State the lead. That was a tremendous read by C.J. Stroud as the safeties. They brought the safeties. They were playing back two high safeties the entire game. They brought them on the blitz. Stroud goes over the top for the key touchdown that gave Ohio State the lead to Xavier Johnson. And then what does Johnson do on the kickoff? The ensuing kickoff comes down, makes a tremendous open field tackle. It was other guys, the non-stars, that stepped up for Ohio State. But more than that, the defense, okay? The defense was tremendous. Tyler Buchner was not wowed by the situation, by the crowd, playing Ohio State, playing in the shoe, playing on prime time. None of that. He looked really good. He completed his first 8 passes. The Buckeyes gave up a couple one long drive for the touchdown, but also the field goal drive. And they bent in the first half. Only gave up the 10 points. But in the second half, Ohio State's defense came to play. Michael Hall, we heard about him all summer and especially in August camp. He emerged as a force in the middle for Ohio State. Jack Sawyer did something for this Ohio State defense that nobody could do much against good rushing attacks in 2021. That's set the edge. The Ohio State defense much improved in this one. Some may say that Notre Dame's offense is lacking and limited and not explosive, but Ohio State's defense was good in the first half. Solid, strong in the first half. Dominant in the second half. And what about the ground game? Yes, Ohio State only scored 21 points. Not prolific throwing the ball. Had to check down a lot, and they're going to see that now. They're going to have to get used to that. They're going to have to be patient in the passing game. But running the football, Mayan Williams, oh my word, he took over in the fourth quarter. And then, of course, Travion Henderson is the guy with the burst. This was an impressive win for Ohio State. A lot of people may disagree with me, but the Buckeyes won. They beat a top 10 or 12 team in the country. I don't care what the ranking is. One of the 10 or 12 best teams in the country. Yes, they saw the recipe for how to contain the Ohio State passing game. But they went to plan B, and they succeeded. They responded, and they won. The Buckeyes are 1-0 with a top 5 victory notched on their belt. Let's go to the Michigan performance against Colorado State, 51-7. On defense, the Wolverines were devastating in a pass rush mode. And that's important, of course, with David Ajabo and Aiden Hutchinson gone. So they showed that they could rush the passer. Of course, Colorado State is not a worthy opponent, and we're just not going to see that facing the Wolverines in September. All right, to the quarterback battle. Cade McNamara, 9 for 18. Couple dropped balls there. More so than the dropped passes, 1 or 2, he threw the ball out of bounds. And I really, in rewatching the game, could not tell on some of these balls thrown out of bounds whether he just misfired that badly or thought, you know what, the guy's covered, the DB's got a good angle on the guy, I'm not going to be able to fit it in there. I'm going to throw it in such a way that if somebody can make a miraculous catch back there in the corner or on the sideline, so be it. But I'm basically throwing this away. So the 9 for 18 I heard brought up a number of times, and that's not truly accurate. Yeah, he didn't look great. He missed on some throws and should have thrown a horrible interception in the red zone in which he missed his target by a mile. And the ball was plucked and initially ruled an interception by Colorado State, but it was trapped. So that should have been a pick on his resume for this audition in week 1. And of course, we're talking about the Cade McNamara, J.J. McCarthy battle in which McNamara got game 1 start. J.J. went 4 for 4 for 30 yards. And so that answered one of my questions. So in this, Cade starts week 1, JJ week 2. They are not playing the full game exclusively. Now, will Cade come in week 2 against Hawaii in replacing JJ McCarthy? Even though he's not that change-up guy, I don't know. On to whatever that was in Iowa City. Iowa beat South Dakota State 7-3. They didn't score a touchdown. They had 2 safeties and a field goal. I went through the young college football season. 92 college football games have been played through week 2. 92 in the FBS. 16 teams. So they're in 92 games, of course. You've got 2 teams on the field. So 184 scoring results. 184 scores. 16 teams scored less points than Iowa's 7. They are Maine, Grambling, South Dakota, Norfolk State, South Dakota State, of course, ironically, the team that, of course, Iowa beat, so they scored less. Central Connecticut, Illinois State, Sam Houston, Temple, Northern Arizona, Alabama A&M, Long Island, and Wyoming. So those are 14 of the teams right there. Well, what do they have in common? No Power 5 teams. Okay, Oregon, only 3 points against Georgia, but we know Georgia's just a completely different deal. Utah State against Bama with a goose egg. So that's almost understandable against what I believe are the 2 best teams in college football, Georgia and Bama. Basically, Iowa's offense got outperformed by everybody in college football. Spencer Petras, 11 of 25. That's 42%. 10 yards per completion. Just 57 yards rushing against an FCS opponent. The running backs, 82 yards on 31 carries. 2.7 yards per carry. 3 for 14 on third down. And get this. You would think with all that offensive ineptitude that Iowa was buried by the punting game of South Dakota State. No. Iowa's average field position, starting field position, was the 40-yard line. 7 drives in the second half, if that's what you want to call them. 4 3-and-outs, 6 3-and-outs for the game in 13 possessions. Iowa's lone scoring, quote-unquote, drive, 4 plays for 5 yards. They went 3-and-out and gained 5 yards and kicked a field goal. That was the drive. That was the scoring drive. This is unbelievable how bad this offense is. Number 121 in the nation last year, and this has been going on for a long time. Why this is not addressed? Kirk Ferentz is one of the respected coaches in college football. He's done a tremendous job at Iowa. He has a top 15 to 20 program in the country. He has been able to acquire coaches, hire coaches in special teams and defense that are elite and build elite units. Why do they not address the offense? Iowa has not produced a top 50 offense in college football since 2006. If Iowa was playing anybody else, another 100 FBS teams on Saturday, they would have lost the game, even with their great defense and special teams unit. Brian Ferentz is the offensive coordinator. This is on him. They have stuck with Spencer Petras. This is his 3rd season as the starting quarterback. He's regressing. The offensive line is not playing well. Petras was ambushed many times, dropping back to pass. They are without possibly their 2 best receivers, Nico Reganey and Keegan Johnson. But still, we're not talking about all-American, all-conference type players. Why would Brian Ferentz and the Iowa offensive coaching staff not watch other offenses to get some ideas? They had one of the 10 worst offenses in FBS football last year. Something has to change. We'll talk a little bit more about Iowa. They've got a big showdown, Cy-Hawk Series showdown with Iowa State coming up Saturday. Also of note over the weekend in week 1, Indiana, Illinois, Connor Baslick, the Missouri transfer, led the Hoosiers on a 75-yard touchdown drive and scored the game-winning touchdown. This is college football in 2022. You got your transfer quarterback leading the game-winning drive, and your transfer running back, Sean Shivers from Auburn, scored the game-winning touchdown with 23 seconds left. Indiana 23, Illinois 20. Tom Allen. Got to root for this guy. His enthusiasm is infectious. After not winning a Big Ten game last year, the Hoosiers start out 1-0. Maybe they can get back to where they were in 2019 and 20. Illinois controlled this game. Chase Brown, 199 yards rushing. This is a tough one for Brett Bielema and staff. They had a 4th and short situation to close out the ball game, and they went for it. And that was not the right move at the time. They could have went up by a touchdown and forced overtime, even by giving up a touchdown. But they went for the kill. They came up short, and Baslick leads the drive, and Indiana gets on the Big Ten win column. Penn State, Purdue, the game of the weekend in the Big Ten, of course, among conference teams. Penn State still doesn't have a running game. Even with 2 promising freshmen, the number 1 running back in the country coming out of high school, Nick Singleton, carried 9 times, and Katron Allen, they showed flashes, but they can only do so much behind a porous offensive line. Sean Clifford missed on throws, especially late in the game. The last 3 drives of the game, he missed all over the place and actually threw the pick 6 that looked to be the game decider. But then Sean Clifford found redemption and led this team to a huge win through the game-winning touchdown pass, and on the final drive was sharp. I know it wasn't a pretty win for Penn State. They didn't dominate, and again, they did not find their rushing attack, but to beat a good team, a Purdue team that went 9-4 last year, should be just as good this year, in that range, to win a Big Ten game against a good opponent on the road, I consider this a positive step for Penn State football. Minnesota and Wisconsin over the weekend played inferior foes, but again, they pitched shutouts. And once again, Wisconsin and Minnesota look to have not only 2 of the better defenses in the Big Ten, but also in all of college football. Let's turn the page to this Saturday, week 2. Northwestern, the big win in Ireland over Nebraska. It took a big effort. It's an emotional win. They're coming back from it. Of course, they had a week off to adjust, so they should be refocused, reset, and ready to go. They can't do what they've done in the past. Lose to an inferior team like they've lost to Duke 3 consecutive times, in which all of those seasons, Northwestern was the better team overall. They've lost to Duke 3 consecutive times. They've lost to the likes of Akron, Western Michigan, Illinois State, Northern Illinois since 2015. Duke is no joke. Yeah, well, you know what? Duke is still a joke. Okay, but they can't be overlooked by Northwestern. Northwestern is not that good to overlook a Duke team that's coming off a 30-0 win over Temple. Northwestern's going to win this game. Again, losing to Duke 3 consecutive times, I would think that Pat Fitzgerald would be able to get the attention of his team to say, let's not feel too good about the win against Nebraska. Now we're facing a team that's kicked our butts 3 consecutive times. Let's go win a game. Northwestern's back at home. They're taking on Duke, noon Eastern time on Saturday. Wisconsin, we're putting the Badgers on upset alert. I'm not picking an upset, just upset alert against Washington State. Cameron Ward was one of the prized transfer quarterback additions for any school in the Power 5. He made his Power 5 debut against Idaho, going 25 of 40 through 3 touchdown passes. Nakia Watson, that name should be familiar to Wisconsin fans. 18 carries for $117 against Idaho. He ran for over 500 yards and 5 touchdowns for the Badgers in 2019 and 20. He is back in Madison, but wearing different colors for the Cougars of the Pac-12. Braylon Allen picked up where he left off in 2021. just hit the scene as a monster, of course, as a freshman. 14 carries for $148 last week. Graham Mertz, the division rests on you, Mr. Mertz. 14 of 16 against Illinois State. 10 touchdowns, 11 picks last year. We know the deal with Graham Mertz. Former 5-star that has yet to live up to the billing. He needs to be better for Wisconsin to do what I've predicted Wisconsin's going to do here in 2022. Win the Big Ten Western Division. Virginia at Illinois. I'm intrigued by this matchup. Brennan Armstrong is probably the best quarterback in college football that you got to be a nerd to know. Not everybody is aware of Brennan Armstrong, the lefty who could have left to go to the NFL. He led the nation with 436 yards passing per game last year. He threw for 405 against Illinois with 5 touchdown passes as the Wahoos crushed Illinois last year 42-14. Now they go to Champaign. So the game's at Illinois. Of course, the Illini coming off that heartbreaking loss against Indiana that we noted a few minutes ago in the final 20 seconds. And Brennan Armstrong also has one of the best wide receiver tight end cores in the nation with Keaton Thompson and Dontavian Hicks, Billy Kemp. And so listen up, Illinois defensive backs, Devin Witherspoon, Kendall Smith, and the rest of the secondary. Buckle up and hope and pray for a pass rush because Brennan Armstrong is no joke. And also hope that Brett Bielema forces a ton of Chase Brown at this Virginia defense after Chase Brown ran for 199 yards against Indiana. Virginia at Illinois, the Illini looking for payback from last year's embarrassing 28-point loss in Charlottesville. Game of the week in the Big Ten. In a week that the Big Ten should generally just handle business, Iowa State at Iowa, Cy-Hawk Trophy on the line. Iowa won this game last season 27-17, a game which they generally dominated, not as close as the final score would indicate, and Iowa has won 7 consecutive in this series. It's going to be fascinating to see Brian Ferentz run this offense. What is he going to do to jumpstart the Iowa offense? My guess, nothing. He's not going to do anything. He's going to run the same plays. Going to run the same offense. Should they run the same offense? Well, everybody needs an identity. Iowa football needs an identity. On the offensive side. And we used to know what that identity was. It was a big, burly offensive line with a number of NFL players, and it was a passing game off play action with tight ends that could abuse a defense. Well, it's the Iowa way not to disrupt things, change things, improvise, create, just to continue to work the process. And that's admirable to a certain extent. But Brian Ferentz needs to find offense, and he needs to get creative and challenge the players to execute because it's on him. It's his responsibility, but it's on the players themselves to execute. Iowa State at Iowa. What's the over-under on this one? Probably 12. All right, join us on the Voice of College Football on YouTube. We have 4 Big Ten shows each week. We've got a weekly Iowa show that we bring your way. So join the live stream, join the discussion, bring your comments and questions. Every Tuesday at 5:30 Eastern Time, Iowa Hawkeyes live at the Voice of College Football. That's Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Nebraska Live is also Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And then on Wednesday, it's Ohio State, Michigan Wednesday. We've got the Buckeyes Live show Wednesday at 1:30 Eastern. Michigan Live is Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us at the Voice of College Football on YouTube. And again, bring it on back for more Big Ten Paradigm coming up next Monday. And, of course, enjoy all the content, all the podcasts here on the College Football Coast to Coast Network. And we will talk some more Big Ten football next Monday.